I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary that afternoon. In fact, it was one of those forgettable, half-cloudy spring days where nothing really stands out, just mild Carolina weather, thick air, and a kind of restless energy in the breeze that makes you drive a little slower than usual. I had just finished a late lunch with a contractor over near South Tryon. We went over some plans for the kitchen remodel Anna and I had been talking about for months, even though lately it felt like we were just going through the motions of married life. Eat, work, talk logistics, sleep, repeat. On the drive back, I took a detour through Jefferson Lake. It's a quiet, slightly older neighborhood just outside Charlotte, lots of maple trees, tidy lawns, and winding streets that give you time to think. I wasn't in a rush to get home. Truthfully, I hadn't been in a rush to get home in a while. That's when I saw it. I was pulling into a small retail plaza to grab a coffee, one of those blink and you miss it spots just off the highway. The kind of place with a dry cleaner, a locally owned cafe, and a half-empty yoga studio with a cracked window decal that hadn't been updated since the pandemic. And there it was. Parked near the back, behind two delivery vans, just barely visible from where I entered the lot, a white SUV. Not just any SUV. Anna's. It took me a second to process. I stared at it for a good 10 seconds before I pulled around. At first, I thought maybe it just looked like hers. Same model, same year. But as I got closer, I saw the sticker in the back windshield, "Pause on board," with a faded outline of a golden retriever. That was ours. Bought it together after our dog Scout passed. Then the license plate came into view. Personalized. AFC 88. Her initials, birth year. No doubt about it. That was Anna's car. Parked behind a cafe she had no reason to be at. She told me she had a client meeting out of town that day, Winston-Salem, about an hour and a half away. Said she'd be gone all day, maybe wouldn't be back until late evening depending on traffic. She even packed an overnight bag just in case the meeting ran long. Said she might crash at a colleague's place to save the late drive home. So why was her car here? I pulled into a spot a few rows away, partially hidden behind a landscaping truck, and shut off the engine. I didn't even know what I was doing at that point. Just sat there, heart thudding, palms sweaty on the steering wheel, staring at her car like it might do something. 10 minutes passed. Then the cafe's side door opened. Anna walked out. It was surreal watching her like that from a distance, like I was seeing her for the first time. She looked relaxed, confident, laughing. And she wasn't alone. A man followed behind her. Mid-30s, maybe a little younger than us. He wore a black baseball cap, dark jeans, a gray hoodie with some tech startup logo on the sleeve. He had that look, comfortable, athletic, with a kind of laid-back charm that people either find harmless or magnetic. But it was the way he walked beside her that made my stomach drop. His hand was on her lower back. Light, but lingering. Not casual. Not professional. Not the way a coworker walks next to a married woman who's just grabbing coffee on a break. Anna laughed again, tossing her head back slightly. I couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed like that with me. Then she looked around, casually at first, then with a flicker of purpose. Like she was checking to make sure no one was watching. I sank low in my seat. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear myself think. They talked a little longer. Close. Too close. She touched his arm. He said something that made her smile, that soft, tilted smile, the one she used to give me when we first started dating, when everything was still new. I wanted to believe it was innocent. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. But everything about their body language screamed otherwise. Eventually, they parted ways. He walked toward the back parking area. She lingered by the door, glancing down at her phone, probably checking the time. Then, without a trace of guilt on her face, she walked to her car, unlocked it, and got in. I stayed frozen in place. I don't know how long I sat there. I don't even remember leaving the parking lot, just that I eventually ended up on the interstate, headed home, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding me together. When she came through the door later that evening, I was already on the couch, pretending to read emails. She dropped her bag by the door, gave me a kiss on the cheek, so quick I barely felt it, and said the meeting had been rescheduled last minute. Something about the client having a family emergency. I ran into Kyle, remember him? From my old job, she said, tossing her keys onto the counter. We grabbed coffee and caught up. Nothing exciting. I nodded. I don't know how I managed it, but I did. I nodded like I believed her, like the lie didn't land with a thud in the pit of my stomach. She made small talk for a while. Asked what I had for lunch, if I'd called the electrician, if I wanted to watch a movie later. Just normal stuff. Like everything was fine. And I said nothing. Because how do you start the conversation? Hey, I saw you today when you thought you were invisible. Or, who is he, Anna? Or maybe just, why? But I didn't say any of that. I couldn't. My mind was still circling around the moment in the parking lot, her hand on his arm, the way she looked around, that laugh I hadn't heard in years. So I said nothing. I played along. We had dinner. She told me about some new project at work. We watched part of a movie. Then she went upstairs early, claiming she was tired. And I stayed downstairs, sitting in that same spot on the couch, staring into the dark, wondering when exactly it had all started slipping away. Because that's the part that hurt the most. It wasn't the lie. It was realizing that long before today, something had already broken and I'd been too distracted, too trusting, or maybe just too hopeful to see it. That night, long after Anna had gone upstairs. After I heard the soft click of the bathroom door and the hum of the hairdryer through the floorboards, I sat in the living room staring at the television with the sound off. Some crime drama flickered on the screen, but I wasn't watching. I was miles away, mentally retracing everything that had felt even slightly off over the past few months. It was like my brain had finally been given permission to piece things together. All the strange, disconnected moments I'd brushed off, all the gut instincts I'd ignored, they came rushing back, loud and undeniable. The late nights. That's where it really started. Her new position in marketing had seemed like a blessing at first, more creative freedom, better pay, and, according to her, finally a team that respects me. I was happy for her. Genuinely. We celebrated with takeout and wine the night she got the offer. But then came the travel. At first, it was just a conference in Atlanta. Then a seminar in Richmond. Client meetings in Nashville. She used to hate business travel, complained about the hotel pillows, the air conditioning, the weird small talk with strangers. Now she seemed to embrace it. Packed quickly. Left early. Came back late. And every time she came home, she'd act like she missed me, but it felt rehearsed, like she was checking a box. Then came the clothes. One evening, about 2 months back, I was tossing some of her dry cleaning onto the bed when I noticed a new dress tag still attached to the inside seam. It wasn't her usual style. Tighter. Sleeker. She said it was for a formal work dinner. But I'd seen what her team wore to those things. This was different. I asked if she needed me to come along. She laughed, said it was for executives only. Plus, you'd be bored out of your mind, she added with a wink. That same weekend, I found a new set of lingerie stuffed under the passenger seat of her SUV. She said it was a gag gift for a friend's bridal shower. No big deal, she'd said. You don't remember Kelly? From yoga? She's getting married next month. I nodded, pretending I remembered. But something inside me tightened. She never mentioned the shower before. Or after. Then there were the phone habits. That's where the real shift happened. She used to leave her phone around the house. On the kitchen counter, the bathroom sink, the armrest of the couch. She'd forget it in the laundry room half the time. Now, it was glued to her hand or buried deep in her purse. If she set it down, it was always screen side down. The one time I reached for it to cue up a playlist while we were cooking, she snatched it so fast it startled me. You don't know my password anyway, she said with a half laugh. I did. Or I used to. Apparently, she'd changed it. Then there was the t-shirt. I was doing laundry on a Saturday, something I'd started doing more of lately, mostly out of restlessness. I pulled a dark gray t-shirt out of the hamper. It was a men's size large, a brand I didn't wear. Not mine. I held it up, confused. She walked in, sipping a smoothie. I held the shirt up without a word. Oh, that, she said quickly. I've had that forever. Probably stole it from my brother in college or something. She took it from me and stuffed it into her gym bag. But I'd seen her brother's wardrobe. It didn't match. And neither did the cologne faintly lingering on the fabric. One evening, about 3 weeks before the parking lot incident, I came home from work early. I didn't text her ahead, I figured she'd be at the office. Instead, I found her in the upstairs bathroom, stepping out of the shower. Her makeup was already off. Her hair was damp. She jumped slightly when she saw me. I thought you had a late meeting, she said, towel wrapped around her, voice too casual. I wrapped up early, I replied. Felt like surprising you. She smiled. But it was brief. Then she started talking quickly about how exhausted she was, how the day had been crazy. But I remember the way she pulled her clothes from the hamper instead of the closet, like she didn't want me to see what she'd worn. All of these things, individually, I'd explained away. She was tired. She was busy. She was evolving. But after what I saw in the parking lot, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. Every excuse I'd accepted suddenly sounded like something I'd let myself believe because the alternative was too painful to face. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was evidence. I spent the next few nights obsessing. Not outwardly, I still kissed her goodnight, still asked about her day, still responded with nods and small smiles. But inside I was unraveling. I started noting things down. Times. Places. When she said she was going somewhere, I checked the location online. Looked up event listings, verified addresses. If she said she was attending a launch party at a downtown bar, I checked the bar's calendar. Sometimes it didn't match up. Sometimes there was no event at all. One night, after she fell asleep, I stood in the hallway, phone in hand, debating whether to go through hers. I knew the passcode now. She had slipped and typed it in front of me 2 days earlier. But I didn't do it. Something about that felt beneath me. I wasn't interested in snooping. I didn't want digital proof. I wanted honesty. I wanted her to tell me the truth. But she didn't. She acted like everything was normal. If anything, she was warmer, more affectionate. She even brought home pastries from that bakery I liked in Dilworth, like she was trying to win back points without knowing why she'd lost them. Or maybe she knew exactly why. That's what haunted me. Not just what she might be hiding, but how good she was at hiding it. And how willing I'd been to live with the version of reality she presented. I found myself rethinking our recent conversations. Her phrasing. Her timing. Even her scent when she came home showered, but not quite fresh in a way I recognized. The kind of clean that felt like it was scrubbing something off. One morning, I picked up her gym bag by mistake, thinking it was mine. Inside, I found a change of clothes, a toothbrush, and a tiny bottle of mouthwash. Nothing damning. Nothing outrageous. But it wasn't a gym kit. It was an overnight pack. That same week, I noticed she started wearing a small gold necklace. Delicate. New. She hadn't mentioned it. When I asked where it came from, she said, "Oh, just something I bought on impulse," then changed the subject. It didn't look like something she'd pick out herself. By the time Friday rolled around, I wasn't sleeping more than 3 hours a night. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe next to me, wondering if she was dreaming of someone else. Wondering how long she'd been lying to me. Wondering if she still loved me, or if the version of her I loved even existed anymore. And yet, I still hadn't confronted her. Because despite all of it, the suspicion, the signs, the silence, I wasn't ready to shatter the illusion completely. Not yet. I was still hoping I was wrong. The email came on a Tuesday morning. I was sitting in my office, sipping coffee that had gone lukewarm, half listening to a budget call with one earbud in while my eyes glazed over the spreadsheet in front of me. My work inbox pinged an anonymous address, no subject line. For a second, I figured it was spam. I hovered the mouse over it, ready to delete. But something made me click. Maybe I already knew. Inside were 4 image attachments. No message, no introduction, just the pictures. I clicked the first one. My stomach dropped. It was Anna. She was standing outside a motel, one of those roadside types you barely glance at, with faded shutters and numbers peeling off the doors. Not the kind of place a marketing executive checks into during a business trip. She was with the man from the cafe. Same guy. Same smug, relaxed posture. He was holding the door open for her, and she was smiling, her overnight bag slung casually over her shoulder like she'd done this 100 times before. The timestamp was from 2 nights ago. I clicked the second image. Early morning. Same location. They were leaving together. She was in jeans and a hoodie, the kind she never wore unless she was dressing down for a long drive. He carried her bag this time. Their heads were close together. Her expression was soft, content. Not a trace of guilt on her face. I couldn't breathe. The third image was inside a bar, dimly lit, taken from a distance, probably through a phone zoom lens. They were seated in a corner booth, drinks in hand. His arm around the back of the seat, nearly touching her. She was laughing. Not politely. Not out of obligation. The kind of laugh you give someone when you're comfortable, when you trust them, when you want to be there. But it was the last image that did me in. They were outside, parking lot, evening light. She was standing with her back to a rental car kiosk. He leaned in. She met him halfway, and they kissed. Not a quick peck. Not a friendly gesture. It was long, real, open, int asterisk mate. The kind of kiss you don't give someone you're trying to hide. The kind of kiss that happens when you think you're safe. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. My heart wasn't racing. It was quiet, like it had been dropped into cold water. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I wasn't even shocked. Just hollow, like the final piece of the puzzle had clicked into place, and now I could see the full picture for what it was. I scrolled down. Below the images, finally, there was a message. Just one short paragraph. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I'm Ryan's wife. I've known for a while. I didn't want to involve you, but I can't stay quiet anymore. You deserve to know. No name. No other details. Just that. I closed my laptop slowly, sat back. My hands rested in my lap, motionless. The rest of the office noise faded. Phones ringing, voices down the hall, the AC humming. I felt detached from all of it, like I was watching my life happen from the outside. For a moment, I considered driving straight home, confronting her, screaming, throwing something, demanding answers she probably wouldn't give. But instead, I sat there, calm, focused. I opened my desk drawer, pulled out a yellow legal pad, and started writing. Not notes, not questions, just a list of everything I needed to do next. That evening, Anna came home like nothing had happened. She was upbeat, said traffic had been a nightmare, that she hadn't even had time to grab lunch. She kissed me on the cheek. I nodded. She asked if I wanted to order Thai or maybe cook something together. I told her I had a lot of work. She didn't push. She went upstairs to change. I watched her go, wondering how many times she'd walked through that same door carrying someone else's touch on her skin. Wondering if she had ever thought about me when she was with him. Wondering if she had once, just once, felt guilty enough to stop. But clearly she hadn't. That night, while she was asleep, I pulled her overnight bag out of the closet. The same one she always packed for her quick trips. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I just opened it, folded her clothes neatly, added a few toiletries, and zipped it shut. I placed it by the front door right next to her heels. In the morning, I left for work before she woke up. I didn't say a word. The days that followed were quiet, controlled. I played the part of the distracted husband. I responded when spoken to, nodded in the right places, offered vague answers when she asked about my day. But I'd already emotionally checked out. It was like watching a house burn from the outside, flames curling up the sides while you stand on the lawn, too exhausted to yell for help, too aware that it's already gone. Then came the final blow. 3 days later, we had our anniversary dinner planned. It had been on the calendar for months, a small gathering at our home. Just a few close friends, some catered food, champagne. I hadn't canceled it. I didn't even mention it. She brought it up 2 days beforehand. "You still want to do the dinner?" she asked, holding her phone. "Sure," I said without looking up. "Why not?" She seemed surprised, maybe even relieved. She threw herself into it, picked out a dress, ordered flowers, cleaned the house. I watched her float around the kitchen the morning of the dinner, humming to herself, arranging silverware like she was starring in a rom-com. She wore the pale blue dress she'd worn on our first anniversary. She even curled her hair the same way. I stood across from her as guests arrived, smiling and shaking hands, but inside, I was elsewhere. I had a small white envelope in my jacket pocket. The dinner went smoothly. People laughed, told stories. Anna poured drinks, complimented everyone's outfits, played the perfect hostess. If there was guilt inside her, she hid it well. When the evening hit its peak and the champagne was uncorked, I waited until everyone was seated. She reached for her glass. That's when she saw it. The envelope, tucked quietly beneath her plate. She froze. I watched her pick it up, confusion flickering in her eyes. She opened it slowly. Inside was the printed letter, the same one Ryan's wife had sent me, along with copies of all 4 photos. The color drained from her face. Her hands trembled. Her eyes darted around the room, flicking from one smiling guest to another, as if searching for an escape hatch. The room went quiet. I set the bottle of champagne down on the table and walked out of the dining room. No screaming, no speeches, no dramatic reveal, just a single moment of stillness, a silence that said more than any argument ever could. I didn't look back. The silence in that room stuck with me longer than anything anyone could have said. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't even grab my coat. I just walked through the hallway, past the vase she'd picked out from that boutique in Asheville, past the photos on the wall, anniversaries, vacations, Christmas mornings, all those captured smiles. I never noticed how staged they looked until that night, like we'd been auditioning for a life we never quite lived. The front porch was quiet. I could hear the laughter slowly return behind me, forced at first, like people weren't sure if they were allowed to move on. One of our friends called out my name, but I didn't stop. I just kept walking toward the end of the driveway, hands in my pockets, eyes on the moonlit sidewalk. My phone buzzed twice in my pocket. I didn't check it. By the time I made it to the corner, the night air had turned cold. I stood there for a while, not thinking about what came next, just breathing. For the first time in what felt like weeks, my chest actually moved with each breath. Like I wasn't being crushed anymore. Like the weight had finally shifted off my ribs. Anna didn't come after me. She stayed inside. With the people. With the lie. That was the last time we were ever in the same room with our friends as a married couple. The next morning, I woke up on the couch. I hadn't meant to fall asleep there, but I didn't feel like going upstairs. I didn't want to walk into the room we used to share and pretend there was still space for both of us in it. I stared at the ceiling for a long time, then sat up and listened. The house was quiet. She was already awake. I could hear faint clinking from the kitchen. Glass against porcelain, running water, slow, deliberate movements. She was cleaning, avoiding. I didn't go in. I got dressed and left without a word. When I came back later that afternoon, she was gone. Just a note on the kitchen table. I didn't know how to fix it, Mark. I thought I could, but I didn't know how. I'll be at my mom's for a few days. No apology, no denial, just that. It was like she'd given up the second the truth came out, like there wasn't even a version of her left that wanted to fight for what we had. I stared at the note for a long time. Then I folded it in half and tossed it into the drawer where we kept expired coupons and broken pens. She didn't take much with her. Just the overnight bag I'd packed, her laptop, a few essentials. Her closet still looked full, like she might walk back in any minute and change into something comfortable, like we still had a Sunday routine. But the air was different now. The silence felt different. It wasn't waiting anymore. It was final. The next few days blurred together. I went to work. I came home. I deleted her from the family calendar. Canceled the dinner reservations we'd made for next weekend. Called the florist and told them not to deliver the bouquet I'd ordered out of obligation more than love. I logged into our bank account and started untangling things. Splitting autopays, changing passwords, disabling her card on our shared account. It was mechanical, not emotional. Like performing surgery on something already dead. A few times, she texted me. Short messages. Can we talk? I'd like to explain if you'll let me. Please don't shut me out. I didn't respond. What was there to say? That she lied? She knew that. That she broke something? She knew that too. There was nothing I could say that she hadn't already made true by her own choices. I wasn't avoiding the confrontation out of fear. I was just done. Fully, painfully, quietly done. The strange. How quickly things unravel when you stop pretending. One moment you're defending someone to yourself, making excuses, believing that love is enough to cover cracks. The next, you're watching the dam break, and all the little leaks you patched start gushing at once. There's a certain peace in that kind of collapse. Not joy, not relief, but peace. Because at least you're not lying to yourself anymore. Our friends started reaching out after the dinner. Some sent awkward messages. Hey man, you okay? That was something. I'm here if you want to talk. Others didn't say anything, probably unsure which side of the line they were supposed to land on. A few couples that had known us for years tried to stay neutral, but you could feel the shift. Suddenly, invites didn't include both of us. Conversations tiptoed around the word divorce, like it was a grenade with the pin halfway out. I didn't blame them. No one wants to watch a marriage fall apart up close. It forces them to look at their own. The only one who surprised me was Rachel, one of Anna's closest friends. She called me the following weekend. I didn't know, she said, voice tight. She told me things were fine. I feel so stupid. You're not, I said. She's just good at hiding. Rachel paused, then added, she's not the person I thought she was. I didn't reply. Not because I disagreed, but because I didn't know if I agreed yet either. Was she not the person I thought she was? Or had I just ignored the signs? One night, maybe a week after everything, I sat in our bedroom and opened the bottom drawer of her nightstand. She used to keep old birthday cards there. Letters. Random notes I'd written her. We weren't a particularly sentimental couple, but she liked saving things. I found a shoebox with Polaroids from our first trip to the coast, ticket stubs from concerts, even a small vial of sand from Wrightsville Beach. And underneath all of that, folded, creased, tucked away like a secret, was a printed itinerary. Not work-related. No company header. Just two names, hers and Ryan's. A weekend in Asheville. Booked a month before our anniversary. Spa package included. I set it down on the bed beside me. Not angry. Just tired. How many versions of our marriage had she been living? How many stories had she been telling to keep it all from collapsing? Maybe that was the cruelest part, how well she kept it together. How normal she'd made everything seem while her heart had already moved out. I didn't cry. I think I was past that. Or maybe I'd just run out of things to mourn. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about making her suffer. It was about letting go of the version of our life that never really existed in the first place. That night, I boxed up everything in the drawer, photos, keepsakes, little reminders of a love that had quietly expired long before the betrayal ever showed its face. I placed the box by the door with her other things. I didn't want to burn it. I didn't want to keep it. I just wanted it out of my house. Out of my head. Out of my future. The separation didn't happen all at once. There was no line drawn in the sand, no moment where one of us declared it over and packed a suitcase to dramatic background music. It was slower than that, like watching ice crack across the surface of a frozen lake. First quiet, then everywhere. Anna stayed at her mom's house after the anniversary fallout, just like she said she would. I figured she'd give it a couple days, maybe cool off, maybe find the courage to call and ask if she could come home and talk. But instead, we settled into the strange, silent rhythm where neither of us reached out. It was like we were both waiting for the other person to make the next move. She sent a few more messages over the next week. They weren't dramatic, just small attempts to reopen the line. I know I hurt you. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet, just a chance to explain. I don't want to lose you. I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Thanks for the infidelity, let's chat when I'm less emotionally wrecked? Every time my phone lit up with her name, my stomach turned. Not because I wanted to hear from her, but because I didn't trust myself not to fall into whatever version of the story she was ready to spin next. I'd heard enough. I'd seen enough. And now it was time to start acting like someone who believed what he saw. The house felt different without her. Quieter, sure, but not just in a physical sense. Emotionally, it felt like someone had turned off the background noise that always followed her, her footsteps, her playlists, her phone calls drifting in from the other room. I didn't realize how much she filled the space until she was gone. And yet I didn't miss it. I didn't miss her humming while she folded laundry or the way she always left her tea mug by the sink instead of the dishwasher. I didn't miss the late-night client calls or the polite distance that had slowly replaced affection over the past year. What I missed, if I missed anything at all, was the version of her I thought I'd married. The woman who used to scribble "love you" notes in my lunch, who got irrationally excited over road trips, who once cried at a dog food commercial. That Anna was gone long before she ever kissed Ryan in that parking lot. It took a few days, but I started cleaning out our shared space. I opened closets, drawers, boxes. I pulled down the framed print she bought on a whim from that art fair in Boone and placed it face down in the garage. Her books, her hair tools, her stack of unread magazines, gone from the bathroom counter. Bit by bit, I made the house mine again. Not out of spite. Just necessity. I changed the Wi-Fi password. Shut down the shared calendar app we used. Canceled the Spotify family plan. I opened a new checking account in my name only. Transferred what I needed. Not all of it, just enough to make the point clear. This wasn't a pause. This was a separation. She didn't fight me on any of it. Maybe she knew there was nothing left to save. 3 days later, I came home from work and found her standing in the kitchen. She hadn't told me she was coming. She must have used her key, one of the last things tying her to this place. She looked small. Not physically. Just different. Her hair was tied up, no makeup, hoodie and jeans, like she was trying to make herself less visible. Like she was trying to be a version of herself that didn't me date or provoke. I just wanted to pick up the rest of my stuff, she said quietly. I nodded. It's in the guest room. She hesitated. Can we talk first? I didn't say yes. I didn't say no either. I just stood there, waiting. She exhaled and looked down at the floor. I don't have a good excuse. I'm not going to insult you with one. That surprised me. I could say I felt distant. Or lonely. Or unappreciated. But none of that would justify what I did. I cheated. Repeatedly. I lied. I gaslit you. And I didn't stop even when I had the chance. She looked up, eyes red but dry. I thought I could control it. I thought I could separate the two parts of my life. I never meant for it to go that far, and I know how worthless that sounds now. But it's the truth. I let her speak. I didn't interrupt. I wasn't interested in salvaging anything, just understanding the full picture. She continued. Ryan was easy. He didn't ask anything of me. He didn't have 10 years of history and bills and routines. He was an escape. But that doesn't mean I didn't love you. Or that I stopped loving you. I looked at her then. Fully. The woman I once saw as my forever, now reduced to someone standing awkwardly in a kitchen we designed together. If you loved me, I said, you would have protected what we had. She nodded. I know. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't call her names. I just turned and walked toward the stairs. As I reached the top, I paused. When you're done, leave your key on the table. She didn't respond. That was the last time we spoke face to face. The next few days were numb. Not sad. Not angry. Just flat. I checked the guest room once she was gone. Everything of hers was missing: clothes, books, toiletries. She even took the charging cable from the outlet near the bed. Only thing she left was a small note on the pillow. Thank you for the years we had. I'm sorry I ruined the rest. I read it once, folded it up, and dropped it in the trash. By the end of the week, it was like she'd never lived here. Her presence had been erased, like footprints in the sand washed away by a slow, rising tide. I thought I'd feel relief. But what I felt was emptier than that. Not hollow, just unburdened. The weight of pretending was gone. The mental gymnastics. The constant calculations of whether I was being paranoid or perceptive. It was all over. I went through our photo albums one evening, not out of nostalgia, but curiosity. I wanted to see if I could find the moment when she checked out, when her eyes stopped looking at me and started seeing through me. There wasn't one. She wore the same smile in every *T. The same tilt of her head. The same affectionate posture. Maybe she was good at pretending. Or maybe I just never learned how to see her clearly. The legal process started soon after. I called a lawyer. She called hers. We agreed to separate amicably. No kids, no real estate battles, no drawn-out courtroom scenes. Just signatures, notarized forms, and bank transfers. She asked to keep the car. I didn't argue. She wanted her name off the mortgage. I agreed. We divided what little we had that mattered. Everything else, furniture, kitchenware, art, felt pointless. Just stuff. The hardest part was changing the emergency contact field at the doctor's office. I stared at the form longer than I should have, pen hovering. Who do you put when the person who used to be your just-in-case is the very reason for the storm? In the end, I left it blank. Maybe that's symbolic, or maybe it's just honest. On what would have been our 10-year anniversary, I walked around the lake by myself. Jefferson Lake. Same place I passed that day I saw her car in the cafe lot. The same loop we used to walk on Sundays with our dog before he got too old to keep up. I sat on the bench where she once told me she was excited to start a family. And I felt still. Not angry. Not hopeful. Just still. Like the story had finally closed. Not with a bang. Not with fire. Just a quiet, honest end. A week after the papers were signed, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. It went to voicemail. Later, I listened. My name's Emily. I'm Ryan's wife. I think we should talk. We met at a quiet cafe by the river. She looked exhausted, the way people look after carrying truth too long. She brought a folder, receipts, emails, timelines. Proof. We compared stories. The overlap was staggering. Same lies. Same weekends. I'm not looking to destroy them, she said. I just want the truth to matter somewhere. We filed a joint complaint with their company's ethics office. Every photo, every detail, every date. She thanked me. I thanked her. We didn't become friends. But we weren't strangers anymore. The company responded fast. Both Anna and Ryan were terminated. No appeals. Anna tried reaching out, texts, voicemails, even letters. I read none of them. Weeks later, she showed up at a friend's party. I didn't go, but she found something in her purse that night. Another white envelope. Inside, just one line. Don't look for me. She left early. That night, I walked the Jefferson Lake Trail again. Alone but lighter. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Not everything ends with closure. Some things end with silence. And that was enough.